To make my jump rings, I'm going to use my 6-step bail making pliers, and I'm going to use the 5mm step. I have 12 inches of 18 gauge round soft copper wire, and the first thing I'm going to do is just sandwich the wire into my plier, and I'll give it a turn on my 5mm step. Turn all the way around the plier, and when you meet the end, come below it and continue to coil. Just want to keep tension on the wire so that you get a nice tight wrap on the ring, and you just want to make sure that each coil goes below the other one. As the coil grows, it'll just grow up beyond this step in the plier. As I get to the very end, I'm just going to get that little bit by rolling my coil and tapping my plier until it closes. To get a flush cut on each of these rings, I'm going to use a regular flush cutter. Flush means that when I bring the blades together, they come together nice and clean. There's no divot there. I'll angle my cutter very straight on the ring, not at a slant, so you want to be very straight. I'm going to take the very tip of the first ring off. You'll see that I have a nice flush cut. Make sure you save those little shards and collect them on your platter or your working surface. They can be sharp, so you will make sure that they go to the trash. Once I make that first clean cut, I'm just going to turn my blades. I'm going to come right up against the first cut so that it touches my blade. You can kind of see it there. I'm going to make sure that my blade is straight on the coil and not at a slant. I'll pull the coil away slightly. I have a little bit of a grip on the coil with my blade, and I'll snip through that first ring and only that first ring. So you see I have two clean sides now to this cut ring. And the shard that it left me, you can see it's sharp and slanted, so we'll need to take that off. You'll turn your flush cutter again. Position your blade just about 1mm or so off that cut. Cover it with your thumb to make sure it doesn't splatter. Snip it and drop it in front of you. Turn your cutter so that the blade is facing the opposite direction. Come right up against the first coil, the edge of the coil, and cut only the one ring. I pull it away slightly, making sure that I'm in position, making sure that my blade is straight, and then I take a nice cut. You'll repeat this process. Okay, and then you'll just collect all of your little shards and keep them in a safe corner of your desk or straight to the trash if your trash bucket is near you. And that's how you cut very nice, clean jump rings. So to make our cute coils, we'll use 4 jump rings each. These are all 5mm 18 gauge jump rings. I'll use 2 pliers that are flat nose, and I'll just put the first ring together by squeezing gently together and rubbing the ends together until the ring closes. To set up the second ring, I'll just open it up slightly and loop the first ring. Using both pliers, I'll close this ring up. And now we have two that are nested together. The secret to the Rodin coil is simply to make each new ring go through all previous rings. So there's two, and my new ring will go through both of those. I'll use my pliers, bring the ends together until they close. I'll lay all three rings down, and you can see they're all going in a clockwise direction, or at least that's how it looks to me. If one of the rings is going in the wrong direction, you'll see it kind of not nest together correctly. So before I add any new rings, I just make sure that all rings are going in the right direction and that my little vortex is ready to receive the next ring. So there's three. I'd be doing this down on my mat. I'm just trying to stay up here to the camera. So I'll open it up. I'll check all my rings and make sure that they're laying in the right direction. They are. And I'll make sure that my new ring goes through all three of the previous rings. I'll close the ring up by using two pliers and just pushing and squeezing gently until they close. And now I have a beautiful coil for my earring. I'll just do the other one. You can make these as many as you want. I'm making 4 of them because it looks nice. And you could also be using 20 gauge wire if you don't have 18. Add my new ring. If your hands are strong enough that you can push these rings together, do it with your hands. I always find that I need my pliers. There's 2. Open up my new ring. Make sure it goes through both previous rings. And close it up. Make sure they're all laying down in the right direction. Usually you just have to nudge them a little bit and they'll fall into place. Open up my jump ring and make sure it goes through all previous rings. And then gently close it up. And now I have my second Rodin coil. And I am ready to go make some very cute earrings with these. To make the next part of our earrings, we'll use 2 pieces of 20 gauge round dead soft wire, and they're both cut to 6 inches long. I'm going to use 2 8mm beads. These are kunzite, a beautiful kind of lavender purpley kind of color. And I'll just set my 2 coils down so that they're ready to go and all the rings are going in the right direction. And the first thing we want to do after you select your beads is to make sure that the 20 gauge wire actually goes through the hole of the bead. So I just like to check both of them, and that works good. I'll slip the bead on until it's about center of my 6-inch wire, the approximate center. I'll hold the bead in place and I'll make a very tight bend with 1/2 of the wire. You want to keep the stem straight up and down, and we can adjust that as we go too, but you basically just want to take one half of the wire and go all the way around the bead. Make sure the bead stays seated. Once I cross the center, I get a little, you can get a plier, or if you can't do this with your finger, but basically I hold the bottom of the bead and then I just pinch, as close as I can get this around. So as close as you can, as snug as you can get that, while leaving the center stem straight up and down. So there's half a pass. I've come in front of the stem and I'm just going to go around again. I'll stay in front, and we can adjust the stem wire before we wrap it. So I'll get my half back up here to meet the stem. I'll look at the back. This is the tell right here, so here's the hole. Just make sure that your wire is nice and straight up and down. This is the back side of the earring where you can see the hole, and this is the front side. So I'll bring this wire across a little bit more until it's perpendicular to the stem wire. I'll hold it very close, and I'll take this little end and I'll wrap around the stem. Once I get it bent around, I like to take my pliers and get a really nice good squeeze on it. Keep working it around with your fingers and your plier to get two nice clean wraps around the stem. It's easier to bend the wire and then get your plier on it and give it some taps. I just hold everything and I use my plier to kind of push it along. So there are my two complete wraps, and I'm going to end with the wire facing the back of the bead, and this is the back of the bead where you can see the hole. So I'll just cut this at a slight slant. Whoop. You don't want to leave too much on there, just about 1 millimeter, so that when you close that up, that cut is facing the back of the earring and it's not looking at the front of the bead. So just real nice and clean like that. I'll set up the second earring. Same thing, I'll thread the bead onto the 20 gauge wire about halfway. The first time we took the wire and we went around counterclockwise. So this time I'll make sure that this one goes around clockwise. So about middle of my 6-inch wire right here, I'll just make a deep bend and I'll bring the wire around the bead in a clockwise direction, making sure that it's seated, making sure that I'm in front of the stem wire. I'll just use the edge of the bead, come around and pass in front. Keep wrapping until you cross the center stem. Look at the back and just make sure that we are completely upright and we look good. So right here I'll hold everything and I'll get a very tight, close wrap around the stem using my pliers to help me. You don't need to kill it, just squeeze it until it's nice and tight. And just keep bringing the wire around until you get two complete wraps around the stem. get the wire facing the back. Get your cutters and get a nice close snip on it. Face the cut and give it a nice tap so that it goes down in a nice clean way facing the back. So cute. And now we have 2 earrings ready to go. To wrap them onto our Rodin coils, first I'll make sure that my little vortex is laying down nicely and that the rings are nested. We want the ring facing us in the end result of the earring design. So I'll take my round nose pliers and we need to have a little bit of stem here to wrap, so I'll get about 2 millimeters above those coils. I'm about, I would say a quarter into my pliers here, and I'll just bend them forward. Bend this wire 90° forward as you're facing your bead. And get a little deeper into your plier, about halfway, and then just take the wire and push it over the head of the plier and towards the back. So you've kind of got this little cradle with the wire going to the back. Pick up your Rodin coil, make sure that the rings are all nested in the right way. So just like that. I'll take my bead and I'll go through all of the rings and let them fall into that little crevice. Before I close it, I'll just make sure that I'll look at it and make sure that they're all sitting correctly, and they are. That I've got all my rings in there, and I do. So I'll let them nest right there, and I'll just use the body of the bead as well as the wire. This is probably the hardest part right here, is literally to wrap this wire around the coil. So you just want to make a nice loop around the coil. And I'm actually to the wrong side, so it's a good thing that I point this out to you. So I'm looking at the back of the bead, there's my cut, and I'm looking at the cut. Where this wire comes over, we actually want it on the same side as the cut. So if your cut wire is living on this side facing you, you want this wrap to actually be on that side. And you'll see why in a minute. So I'm just going to move it to the opposite side. So there's my cut from the bead, and I've got my wire on the opposite side of that cut, on the same side as the cut. I'm just going to use my pliers and close up this loop a little bit. So I'll look at it, it looks good. My wire is coming back on the same side as the cut wire. I'm holding all my rings. This is going to be the hardest part, is to wrap this wire around this neck. So sometimes it's easier too if you get your plier right on it, right here, right on the loop. And then you can use your other hand to help you come around the stem of the earring. You just use my pliers and I help me go all the way around. And then I hold the other side. I'm a little fidgety under the camera, but I think you can see what I'm doing. Hold the other side of the loop and bring the wire all the way around the stem. The reason that we did the positioning of the wire is so that when you come around, you're eventually going to meet that other cut. And so you want to make this closing wrap kind of meet head on at the back of the earring to the other cut. So I'm right on top of that other cut. It's a little bit hard to see. You can see the wire ends right underneath where my wrap wire is. I'll take my cutter and I'll make a nice close snip right there. And I'll try to get those two kind of facing each other at the back of the bead, or as close as you can get it. Just tap it down like that. And now when I look at the front, I have a nice clean wrap, and my cuts are living in the back, and I can just use my plier and tap around these to make them a little bit neater. If you need to squish them up, you can get a very fine plier, like your bent nose. You can do some gentle tapping to straighten that neck up if you need to. So when you look at the earring, it should look something like this. And then all we have to do is put our earring hook on the top. So I'll finish up the other earring, and you do the second earring also. Use my round nose plier, bend 90 degrees forward, go a little deeper, about halfway into your plier, use the head of the plier and bend back. So you get the little opening. Pick up your Rodin coil, make sure all the rings are living nested correctly. Slip all those rings onto the earring. Remember that when we close this loop, you want to be on the same side as the cut edge, so in this case to my right. So I'll just use the earring frame and the loose wire, and I'll just make a loop around all these rings so that I'm perpendicular. I'll use my plier and I'll hold on to the head of my loop right there so that I have some leverage to wrap this wire around the stem. Then I can use my plier to help me tap it tight. Continue to hold the loop. It's a little bit tricky, but you can get it. And there's my cut. So I just want to make this wire end so that it faces the other cut at the back of my earring. Cut it as close as we can. And they don't have to butt up against each other, but they'll both be ending in the very same place there. So it's just nice and clean. And then you'll look at the front of the earring and make sure that it sits nice and clean. You can tap these coils and make some slight adjustments if you need to. Very pretty. And there's the second one. So now we have two, and we're ready to put our earring hooks onto the top. So cute. And the last step is to make earring hooks for our two cute little vortex earrings. I'm using 2 pieces of 20 gauge round soft copper wire, and they're cut to 2 inches long. The first thing I'm going to do is make sure I've got a really nice flush cut on the ends. So I'll just take the very tips of these wires off. They're nice and level. We have to remember that the loop needs to get around your bundle of rings. So I'm going to use my step pliers and the 3mm round step. You can do these with traditional round pliers as well, round nose. I'll just sandwich my wire ends in between my plier evenly there. You can do them one at a time as well. I just like to do them sometimes both at the same time. And I'll take both wires all the way around the plier until the ends meet the wire again. So just like that. I think I went a little bit too far. Once you get your two loops made, 3mm loops made, I like to use the 7mm step for the earring back, the earring curve itself. So I just kind of brace my two loops right there and bend around the mandrel in the opposite direction, kind of coming towards the loops. Once you get that done, while they're here, you might as well take a flat plier and do the back bend on the little earring as well, just like this. So now we have two ready to go cute little earrings, earring hooks. And we'll have to hammer them so that they stay hard and hold their shape. And the first thing I'll do is lay them down and just hammer these large curves. Just like that. So we have two hammered curves that helps the earring stay in shape and hold its curve there while it goes in and out of the ear. And I also like to just give these loops a light tap so that they stay strong as well. Just like that. We'll file these ends and make them nice and soft to go through the ear. And last, we just sand the little ends. I just use a little sanding pad. You can rub them back and forth. Your emery board works as well if you don't have sanding pads. And you just basically want to take the sharp ends off and make them smooth. Just do little circles until it feels comfortable to your finger. And then we'll add our earrings. We just open these loops up using a flat plier, hold the stem right here, and then just open the loop up wide to the side. Make sure you're looking at the front of your earring, and then put that loop through all of the vortex rings. Use your plier and close the loop back up. You might have to give it a little squeeze in this direction to make it touch the earring back again. Give it a couple of pinches, and that's it. There's one complete earring. That's darling. And now I'll do the other one. And that's it. We have two very cute Rodin Coil Vortex earrings completed with kunzite beads. I hope you guys enjoyed this project. If you would like to support my channel, please hit the subscribe button as well as the like button. And I appreciate you being here, and we'll see you guys for the next one.